Hello and welcome to the Idiot Book Nook. My name is Blazewing. My pronouns are she, her, and they, them.
I am the Reading Dragon, and my pronouns are she, her.
I'm Lady Punnet. My pronouns are primarily she, her, sometimes they, them. Today is a she, her kind of day.
And I'm Critter Shy. My pronouns are she, her, they, them, and today's a them day. For now. That can change.
As usual, if you'd like to follow us on social media, you can do so at lanktr.ee/idiotbooknook. You'll be able to find our personal links to all of our projects on the go. You'll be able to find links to all of our podcast feeds, our YouTube channel, as well as links to this Twitch stream that we do currently at 9 a.m. on Wednesday mornings, 9 a.m. Mountain Time. Crew. We are doing chapter 44 of the Amulet of Samarkand today. This is our last chapter for this book. What are we thinking?
Can't believe it's already the last chapter.
Right.
I can't wait to get started.
It almost feels like yesterday. We only just started this book.
I remember Tuesday like it was yesterday.
Tuesday was yesterday.
Tuesday was yesterday.
Exactly. Narrator, are you ready to take us on the last leg of this journey?
Let's go!
And your last point at narrating a book for the moment.
For the moment, yeah. Oh, and welcome, Keswansu.
Thank you for the follow.
Yes.
Hey, Cass!
Enjoy this journey.
Narrator. Sorry, go ahead. You were saying something.
As I take all these chucklefucks with me down the rabbit hole of Bartimaeus.
Let's do it.
The Bartimaeus Trilogy, Book 1, The Amulet of Samarkand, written by Jonathan Stroud, narrated by the Reading Dragon, voice acted by the Reading Dragon, Blazewing 2010, Lady Punnet, and Critter Shy. Chapter 44. The servant's footsteps receded down the stairs. The boy and I looked around.
I preferred your old room,
I said.
This one smells, and you haven't even moved in yet.
It doesn't smell.
It does. Of fresh paint and plastic, and all things new and fabricated, which, I suppose, is quite appropriate for you. Don't you think so, Mr. Mandrake?
He didn't answer. He was bounding across to the window to look out at the view. It was the evening of the day following the great summoning at Heddleham Hall, and for the first time my master was being left to his own devices. He had spent much of the previous 24 hours in meetings with ministers and police, going over his story and no doubt adding lies with each retelling. Meanwhile, I'd remained out on the street, shivering with impatience. My frustration had only increased when the boy had spent the first night in a specially provided dormitory on Whitewall, a building heavily guarded in numerous ways. While he snored within, I'd been forced to skulk outside, still unable to engage him in the necessary chat.
Footnote 1. Government offices tend to be full of afrit and search spheres, and I fear they might take exception to my presence.
But now another day had passed, and his future had been decided. An official car had driven him to his new master's home, a modern riverside development on the south bank of the Thames. Dinner would be served at 8:30. His master would await him in the dining room at 8:15. This meant that Nathaniel and I had an hour all to ourselves. I intended to make it count. The room contained the usual bed, desk, wardrobe, a walk-in one, this swanky. Bookcase, bedside table, and a chair. A connecting door led to a tiny private bathroom. There was a powerful electric light set in the pristine ceiling and a small window in one wall. Outside, outside, the moon shone on the waters of the Thames. The boy was looking out at the Houses of Parliament almost directly opposite, an odd expression on his face.
They're a lot nearer now,
I said.
Yes, she'd be very proud.
He turned, only to discover that I had adopted Ptolemy's form and reclining on his bed.
Get off there! I don't want your horrible— Hey!
He spotted a book tucked into a shelf beside the bed.
Faust's Compendium! My own copy! That's amazing. Underwood forbade me to touch this.
Just remember, it didn't do Faust any good. He was flipping the pages.
Brilliant. And my master says I can do minor conjurings in my room?
Ah, yes, your nice, sweet new master. I shook my head sadly. You're pleased with her, aren't you? He nodded eagerly.
Ms. Whitwell's very powerful. She'll teach me lots. And she'll treat me with proper respect, too.
Oh! You think so? An honorable magician, is she? I made a sour face. My old friend, Jessica Whitwell. Rake-thin Minister for Security, head of the Tower of London, controller of the Mournful Orbs. Yes, she was powerful, all right. And it was no doubt a sign of how highly the authorities thought of Nathaniel that he was being trusted to her tender care. Certainly, she would be a very different master from Arthur Underwood, and would see to it that his talent didn't go to waste. What it would do to his temperament was another question. Well, no doubt he was getting exactly what he deserved.
She said I had a great career ahead of me.
He went on.
If I played my cards right and worked hard. She said she'd supervise my training, and that if all went well, they'd put me on the fast track, and I'd soon be working in a ministerial department getting experience.
He had that triumphant look in his eyes again, the kind that made me want to put him over my knee. I made a big show of yawning and plumping up the pillow, but but he kept going.
There's no restriction on age, she said, only on talent. I said I wanted to get involved with the Ministry for Internal Affairs, and they're the ones who are hunting the resistance. Did you know there was another attack while we were out of London? An office in Whitehall was blown up. No one's made a breakthrough yet, and I bet I could track them down. First off, I'll catch Fred and Stanley and that girl. Then I'll make them talk, and then I'll—
Steady on, I said. Haven't you done enough for a lifetime? Think about it. 2 power-crazed magicians killed. 100 power-crazed magicians saved. You're a hero. My slight sarcasm was wasted on him.
That's what Mr. Devereux said.
I sat up suddenly and cocked my ear toward the window. Listen to that, I exclaimed.
What?
It's the sound of lots of people not cheering. He scowled.
Go ahead.
It's your
It's your
line.
turn.
Hang on.
He scowled.
Nope, not according to the lines. It's not.
Yeah, it's the sound of people not cheering. He scowled.
Yep.
Nathaniel
Meaning
says,
what?
meaning what?
No, he doesn't. Take a look at the lines that come after.
Oh, yeah. No, you're right.
Huh. That's odd.
Go
Okay.
ahead.
It is oddly spaced, but yeah.
Yes.
It on my end, it looks like Nathaniel's line, and then and then it goes back to Bartimaeus.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a physical copy.
Hang on.
Because it's right beside. He
Hang on.
scowled.
Hang on.
Yeah.
Meaning what?
Meaning, the government's keeping this all very quiet. Where are the photographers? Where are the newspaper men? I'd have expected you on the front page of the Times this morning. They should be asking for your life story, giving you medals in public places, putting you on cheesy limited edition postage stamps. But they aren't, are they? The boy sniffed.
They have to keep it quiet for security reasons. And that's what they told me.
No, it is for reasons of not wanting to look stupid. 12-year-old saves government? They'd be laughed at in the street, and that's something no magicians ever want. Take it from me, when that happens, it's the beginning of the end. The boy smirked. He was too young to understand.
It's not the commoners we have to fear.
He said,
It's the conspirators. The ones who got away. Ms. Whitwell says that at least 4 magicians must have summoned the demon, so, as well as Lovelace, Schuyler, and Lime, there must be at least one more. Lime's gone, and no one's seen that red-bearded magician at any of the harbors or aerodomes. It's a real mystery. I'm sure Sholto Pin's in on it too, but I can't say anything about him after what you did to his shop.
Yes, I said, putting my hands behind my head and speaking in a musing sort of way. I suppose you do have rather a lot to hide. There's me, your minor imp, and all my exploits. There's you, stealing the amulet and framing your master. He flushed at this and made a big show of going off to investigate the walk-in wardrobe. I got up and followed him. By the way, I added, I noticed you gave Mrs. Underwood a starring role in your version of events. Helps salve your conscience, does it? He spun around. His face reddened.
If you have a point,
He snapped.
get to it.
I looked at him seriously then. You said you would revenge yourself on Lovelace, I said, and you did what you set out to do. Perhaps that takes away a little of your pain. I hope so. I wouldn't know. But you also promised that if I helped you against Lovelace, you'd set me free. Well, help has been dutifully given. I think I saved your life several times over. Lovelace is dead, and you're better off, in your eyes, than you've ever been before. So now's the time to honor your promise, Nathaniel, and let me go. For a moment, he was silent.
Yes,
He said at last,
you did help me. You did save me.
to my eternal shame.
And I'm...
He halted. Embarrassed?
No.
Delighted?
No.
A teensy bit grateful? He took a deep breath.
Yes, I'm grateful, but that doesn't alter the fact that you know my birth name.
My gosh. It was time to iron this out once and for all. I was tired. My essence ached with the effort of 9 days in this world. I had to go. True, I said. I know your name, and you know mine. You can summon me. I can damage you. That makes us even. But while I'm in the other place, who am I going to tell? No one. You should want me to go back there. If we're both lucky, I won't even be summoned again during your lifetime. However, if I am... I paused, gave a heavy sigh. I promise I won't reveal your name. He said nothing. You want it official? I cried. How about this? Should I break this vow, may I be trampled into the sand by camels and scattered among the ordure of the fields. Now, I can't say fairer than that, can I?
Footnote 2.
An old Egyptian vow. Be careful when you use it. It invariably comes true.
Ow.
Invariably. Oh, that's a new word. He hesitated. For an instant, he was going to agree.
I don't know.
He muttered.
You're a genie. Vows mean nothing to you.
Excuse. You're confusing me with a magician. All right, then. I jumped back in anger. How about this? If you don't dismiss me here and now, I'll go right downstairs and tell your dear Miss Whitwell exactly what's been going on. She'll be very interested to see me in my true form. He bit his lip, reached for his book.
I could...
Yes, you could do lots of things, I said. That's your trouble. You're too clever for your own good. A lot has happened because you were too clever to let things lie. You wanted revenge. You summoned a noble genie. You stole the amulet. You let others pay the price. You did what you wanted, and I helped because I had to. And no doubt, with your cleverness, you could devise some new bond for me in time. But not quickly enough to stop me telling your master right now about you, the amulet, Underwood, and me.
Right now?
He said quietly. Right now.
You'd end up in the tin.
Too bad for both of us. For a few moments, we held each other's gaze properly. Perhaps for the first time. Then, with a sigh, the boy looked away. Dismiss me, John, I said. I've done enough. I'm tired, and so are you. He gave a small smile at this.
I'm not tired.
He said.
There's too much I want to do.
Exactly. I said. The resistance. The conspirators. You'll want a free hand trying to hunt them down. Think of all the other jinn you'll need to summon as you embark on your great career. They won't have my class, but they'll give you less lip. Something in that seemed to strike a chord with him.
All right, Bartimaeus.
He said, finally.
I agree. You'll have to wait while I draw the circle.
That's no problem. I was eagerness itself. In fact, I'll gladly entertain you while you do it. What would you like? I could sing a nightingale. I could sing like a nightingale. Summon sweet music from the air. Create 1,000 heavenly scents. I suppose I could even juggle a bit if that tickles your fancy.
Thank you. None of that will be necessary.
The floor in one corner of the room had been purposefully left bare of carpet and was slightly raised. Here, with great precision, and with only 1 or 2 fleeting glances at his book for formulae, the boy drew a simple pentacle and 2 circles with a piece of black chalk he found in the drawer of his desk. I kept very quiet while he did so. I didn't want him to make any mistakes. At last, he finished and rose stiffly, holding his back.
It's done.
He said, stretching.
Get in.
I considered the runes carefully. That cancels Aldebrand's pentacle, does it?
Yes.
And breaks the bond of perpetual confinement?
Yes. See that hieroglyph there? That snaps the thread. Now, do you want to be dismissed or not?
Just checking. I skipped into the bigger circle and turned to face him. He readied himself, ordering the words in his mind, then looked at me severely.
Take that stupid grin off your face,
he said.
You're putting me off.
Sorry. I adopted a hideous expression of malady and woe.
That's not much better.
Sorry.
All right. Prepare yourself.
Just one thing, I said. If you were going to summon someone else soon, I recommend Farquharel. He's a good worker. Put him to something constructive, like draining a lake with a sieve or counting grains of sand on a beach. He'd be good at that. One moment while we have background difficulties.
I have an avocado cat.
Avocado kitty! It's a squishmallow, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. I really want the Halloween squishmallows we have at my store. There's like a black cat with a witch's hat. There's a ghosty. There's a couple candy corn. There's a rainbow jack-o'-lantern.
Ooh.
And they have the Sanderson sisters and Jack Skellington.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. I'm really sad they don't have Binks.
So, what's going on?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
We're just waiting for background noise to pass over.
Aha.
Bartimaeus really wants to go home, Nathaniel.
Nathaniel's just delaying the inevitable because he's losing his ally that could betray him.
Sorry about that. We had somebody rummaging around in the kitchen.
Okay.
Look, do you want to... Hold on. Hang on a second.
I ended with sorry. I ended with explaining to Nathaniel that he should hire on Farquharel. He's good.
Yes,
you just put him to something constructive.
He'd be good at that, is the last thing you said.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Look, do you want to go or not?
Oh, yes, I do. very much.
Well then,
Nathaniel, one last thing.
what?
Listen. For a magician, you've got potential. And I don't mean the way you think I mean. For a start, you've got far more initiative than most of them, but they'll crush it out of you if you're not careful. And you have a conscience, too. Another thing which is rare and easily lost. Guard it. That is all. Oh, and I'd beware of your new master, if I were you. He looked at me for a moment as if he wanted to speak. Then he shook his head impatiently.
I'll be all right. You needn't bother about me. This is your last chance. I have to be down for dinner in 5 minutes.
I'm ready. The boy spoke the counter summons swiftly and without fault. I felt the weight of words binding me to the earth lessen with every syllable. As he neared the end, my form extended, spread, blossomed out from the confines of the circle. Multiple doors opened in the plains, beckoning me through. I became a dense cloud of smoke that roared up and outward, filling the room that became less real to me with every passing instant. He finished. His mouth snapped shut. The final bond broke like a severed chain. So I departed, leaving behind a pungent smell of brimstone. Just something to remember me by.
And thus ends chapter 44 and the first book in the Bartimaeus Trilogy, The Amulet of Samarkand. And holy shit, Bartimaeus does actually give a shit. Confirmed. So, what do we got? This is our that was our final chapter for this book. How are we feeling? What do we got to talk about? Like, lay it on us.
I really thought for a minute there that Nathaniel was going to screw Bartimaeus over. I really I was really worried that he was like going to pull some shiesty thing at the very end. So I am very glad that he got that he kept his end.
Here you go. Here's the keys to let you free. Hope.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I expected.
I have mixed feelings about the fact that Nathaniel's teacher is Jessica.
Yeah, Jessica Whitwell. Yeah.
Because here's the thing. We know that she is a very magician. Mm-hmm. She is also a very ruthless one.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that Nathaniel needs a ruthless mentor right now. I think we need someone that's going to help not curb his ambition, but like, kid, you got to slow down.
Mm-hmm. Well, we've also only ever seen one side of Whitwell.
True.
I mean, this is true, but I think Bartimaeus senses there's more going on with her. So I have a feeling that he wouldn't like say, "Hey, watch out for her," unless he like sensed,
Unless his distaste for her is that she's, I guess, like, just like a standard magician when it comes to her way of thinking of like other beings and stuff like that.
True.
It could entirely be based on speciesism.
True. I think another issue, well, not really an issue, but like Nathaniel wasn't humbled at all throughout this book. If anything, he's kind of sort of his arrogance has been encouraged.
Mm-hmm.
What with the other magicians, like, "Oh yes, you saved us. You're a hero." And he's not questioning why they aren't like releasing the story of what happened with all the cabinet members and stuff. Which, I mean, he's not wrong. It is a security reason, but Bartimaeus is trying to make him question it.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not.
Well, hopefully that planted a seed at the very least.
Hopefully.
I'm hoping so too, but also I don't like how he's like, magicians are better than common folk. That's leaving a sour taste in my mouth, and it's just that's gonna come. Because here's the thing: it's been stated that there's more commoners than there are magicians. And what happens when people realize they're being repressed? They fight back. And I'm sorry, I don't know if gin beats gun.
Depends on
we might find out.
Yeah, we might find out in the next book when we get to it. I've never read the second book.
We'll find out when we get to that.
Yeah. See, out of the series, I've only ever gotten to read the first book.
Sorry, I was reading something. What was that about the second book?
We'll probably find out how certain people react, because if there is a possibility that people find out that they're repressed or being repressed, like say the common folk finding out that they're otherwise being repressed by the small amount of percentage of humans that are magicians. When people find out they're being repressed, they are more likely to revolt. And that's what Paulina was saying, Lady Punnett was saying. And then I responded with, well, we'll see what happens, because I've never read the second book of the series. I have the second book, but out of the entirety of the series since it came out, I've only ever been able to read the first book.
Okay, give me 1 second, because I have sirens.
What did you do this time?
But yeah, I definitely, I like how the final chapter wrapped everything up. I definitely like it answers some questions while still leaving us like room for the next one and everything.
So I have a question. Without spoilers, would you guys like to know what the second book covers?
It's not Nathaniel again, right? Because I think Nathaniel is only like the dual antagonist.
Before I answer that,
this book,
would you guys like to know what the second book covers? Or would you like to wait to find out?
I mean,
I think I want to wait.
I was going to say we'd probably find out if we would get the physical copies, because the summary would be on the back of the book.
Yeah.
That would require reading it.
Well, reading the back of the book, and we all read the backs of books. How are we supposed to know if we want to read the book?
Exactly. Or like if it's not like on the back of the book, it's always in like that little like leaflet thing, if it's on like the dust cover.
My guess is it's about the resistance.
Probably.
I can tell you what the second book is about.
Yeah, because it's called The Golem's Eye.
It is called The Golem's Eye. I can tell you what the second book is about if you would like to know.
Real quick, let me go get my physical copy of the second book. I'll be right back.
Okay.
I would like it to remain a mystery, and I do have to go, so I will use it as an opportunity to say goodbye.
Bye-bye, critter.
Thank you for
I'm
joining.
avoiding spoilers.
Thank you for joining.
Thank you for having me. It was a great time. I will see Twitch people next week.
Yep.
And to our listening audience on the podcast.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Look at this amazing cover art.
It is a bull.
Mm-hmm.
It is also very shiny. So I'd be willing to hear what the next premise of the book is about, of the second book is about, although I do not know when we will get to the second book.
Because we're doing things out of order.
Yep.
And we're trusting the wheel.
Do you want me to read the leaflet, or do you?
Sure, you can read. Well, do you want to read the leaflet, or do you, Blaze, just to like tell us?
Go for it. Do you guys want to scrap the wheel?
I don't mind the wheel.
Okay.
I like the wheel.
Okay.
It helps keep us from burnout.
Give us the synopsis.
Okay. So the synopsis for the next book, when we get to it. At only 14, Nathaniel is a rising star, a young magician who is quickly climbing the ranks of the government. There is seemingly nothing he cannot handle, until he is asked to deal with the growing resistance movement, which is disrupting London life with its thefts and raids. It's no easy task. The ringleader, Kitty, and her friends remain elusive, and Nathaniel's job, and perhaps his life, are soon at risk. As the pressure mounts, he is distracted by a new series of terrifying attacks in the capital. But is it the resistance again, or something more dangerous still? To uncover the perpetrators, Nathaniel must take desperate measures. A journey to the enemy city of Prague, and worse, summoning once again the troublesome, enigmatic, and quick-witted genie Bartimaeus. Meanwhile, Kitty and her fellow rebels are planning their most daring exploit of all, one that will make their fortune and change the history of London forever. A thrilling sequel to the best-selling Amulet of Samarkand, The Golem's Eye is a roller coaster ride of magic adventure and political skullduggery, in which the fates of Nathaniel, Bartimaeus, and Kitty explosively collide. So, we get a brand new perspective in this book. The perspective of Kitty.
The girl who isn't a magician but has some sort of magical reference.
Yep. We might find out what Kitty is in this book.
And that's where we're going to leave off for this episode. But first, from 1 to 10, how would you rate the Amulet of Samarkand?
I would give it a pretty good 8.5 out of 10. I love the world building and how this is basically alternative history.
Okay.
I love how the characters have developed throughout this book. Mm-hmm. And I love the different perspectives that you see throughout this story, basically being told in the perspectives of different characters. Mm-hmm. And you get to effectively, the way that it's written, it's like you live in the shoes of each character that you read through.
Okay.
Like, yeah, there's the basic narration of the book when you get to Nathaniel's bit. But when you actually get to be in Nathaniel's perspective or Bartimaeus' perspective, then it starts to make you feel like you are living as that person a little bit. Or you're at the very least, standing, like in Bartimaeus' perspective, it's like he is taking you by the hand and showing you around his apartment.
Lady Punnet?
I think if I was going to give this book a rating from 1 to 10, I think I would give it an 8. I also really enjoyed the world building and the perspective done through the two of them. It's a very interesting narrative also with how the author describes scenes in what's going on, and the little bits of history here and there.
Yeah.
The only reason I didn't give it a higher rating, though, is that sometimes if you're not well versed in history or mythology, some of the references might go over your head.
Yeah.
For example, the fact of Jabor used to be under the service of Set, and if you didn't know about the whole, his god form has the head of a jackal, you might miss that. So sometimes there's like those little motifs that as older readers we can appreciate, but I acknowledge that this book series is dedicated more towards younger audiences who might not have gone through like an Egyptian phase or any kind of lore phase.
Or basically, to add on to what you're saying, Lady Punnet, this is definitely a young adult series catered to young adults who are very interested in world history.
Yeah.
For me, which is why I think it's like instead of having it like at a 9 or even 8, simply because some of the nuances and some of the little like Easter eggs, I guess you could call, you would easily miss them if you weren't aware.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I like the way the world was built. I like the storytelling mechanics they used. I love Jonathan Stroud's use of imagery. I think there's questions and some possible plot holes that might need to be filled in, but that happens with any book, really. Especially when you're comparing it more to reality. And you're dealing with a topic of fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
I think that you are absolutely right. If you don't have a background in the information, or at least a cursory understanding of the information, for some of the lore and some of the mythos, that you're going to be missing out on things.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not going to get certain references. And if you don't have a curiosity to find out, it's going to leave an entire part of the book untouched.
Yep.
Therefore, I am going to give this a 7.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking strictly as an academic, as somebody who enjoys the field of academia and the research and the writings and whatnot. Again, the Middle East is not my area of expertise, but I did actually do some cursory research while we were talking about it. So, yeah, I'm going to give this book a 7, and I absolutely loved it. So, all rounded out, we have an 8.5, we have an 8, and we have a 7, which puts us pretty much around an 8 for our collective rating.
Yeah. Unless we can get Critter Shy to message in what her rating would be.
I'm not going to bother Critter Shy right now. Critter had to go. That being said, guys... Sorry, you what?
That's fine.
That being said, this is going to wrap it up for the Amulet of Samarkand. We want to thank you for joining us on this ride. And our next book... is that going to be Aragon, or are we doing your author's book?
Because I have that book. Hold on. Where is that book? I have it somewhere. Where the fuck did I put it?
One moment, we'll Dragon runs out of the room. If you're listening on the pod, I can't even. Okay, hold on. What'd you get? No.
Lady Punnet, did you get your copy yet?
I do, but it's at my apartment.
Okay, so as some of you have already heard in previous recordings and previous sessions, Lady Punnet and I had entered a book giveaway, and we each won a copy of A.P. Whitfield's Prospero School of Magic, The Return of Merlin, Book 1.
So, do we want to do Aragon, or do we want to do that book?
I think it would probably be best to do A.P. Whitfield's book.
Okay. That works for me. So our next book is going to be the book by A.P. Whitfield.
And I will send links for you and Crittershy to get your own copies as well, depending if you want a digital or a physical.
Cool.
That is up to you.
All right. Well, with that being said, we're going to wrap this episode up. So thank you very much for joining us for the final chapter of the Amulet of Samarkand. We will see you guys at a later date. But for the Idiot Book Nook podcast, I'm Blazewing.
I am the Reading Dragon.
I'm Lady Punnet.
And Crittershy also sends a fond farewell. And we will see you guys later.